Well, it's our great fortune here at the James Madison Institute to have with us a small business owner here in Tallahassee, Justine May, who is a partner in the Railroad Crafthouse here in Tallahassee. Justine, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We are living in kind of crazy times, are we not?
We definitely are. It's not what we thought was going to happen when we opened this restaurant up, for
Sure.
sure.
Yeah. And how long have you all been open?
We've been open since August of last year, so we're still a baby. We're in our first year still.
Right. Well, I want to go into some of those details. As a small business, I think you have a tremendously strong voice, not only in Tallahassee, but across the state and really across the country, because I know small businesses have had to deal with seemingly a lot more and really harder challenges because of the coronavirus and all that it has kind of wrought on the economy. So I'd like to ask you a few questions and kind of get your thoughts, because I'm sure they're very applicable and will be very helpful to a lot of people across the country. Give us a little bit of background and the timeline of how you and your partners started the Railroad Crafthouse and the timing and how that timing works with the pandemic in the beginning of what we call the shutdown.
So we started about a year ago, just over a year ago. December of 2018 is when we were really putting things into play. We did a pop-up last spring as the yard at Railroad Square, and we were open for about 3 months because we had to push back construction. And then we decided to rebrand and rename. And so our true opening was August of 2019. And we were finally actually hitting our stride as a business with the spring hitting. We had so many private events and live music, nonprofit fundraisers on the books that when the shutdown happened, the emails of cancellations were just rolling through. And it was heartbreaking and devastating for a brand new business to be hitting their stride and kind of be just hitting the gut. We have a huge outdoor space, and so it really completely changed the dynamic of our business model, which was it's a destination, it's a location people want to go and hang out at, not pick up food and leave with it.
Yeah, for those who may not know, be familiar with kind of that area, it's kind of the cross between a beautiful park, but that park, like a city park, but it's full of just wonderful businesses of varying kinds. And it's just very avant-garde and in a beautiful area of Tallahassee. How many employees at your peak did you have at your restaurant?
We had between 30 and 40. I would say probably about 35 regularly. We had a couple people that would just pick up every once in a while, but solidly about 35.
Right. And so as a result of the pandemic, obviously the executive order kind of shuts you guys down. How have you navigated dealing with those 30 and 40 employees, the regulations that have followed, the finances in your workforce? How has that gone for you?
Oh goodness, that's been one of the hardest challenges for us. A lot of the kids went on spring break that we were employed, and we told them that they had to wait for 14 days after they came back. Obviously, that was before the 17th shutdown. And so a lot of them said, okay, well, we're not going to come back. And then the full shutdown happened, and we retained only very few people. I want to say there's less than probably 5 employees right now working for us. And we went from maybe 2 to 3 to-go orders a week to 100% to-go sales. So we've also started delivering it as well, because if you don't know, all the delivery apps take a huge chunk from the cut of every sale that you make, up to 32%, which
Wow.
in an already trying time really, really hurts our bottom line. And only not much has been done about that, because they're still trying to keep their people employed as well.
Sure. So say that statistic again, because I bet a lot of our viewers don't know that. Like the Bite Squad and people like that, they take a third of. Tell me that statistic again.
So all of the delivery apps are all different in how much cut that they actually take, but it's up to 32% depending on which app that you're using to have the delivery.
Right. And how has delivery that you're doing on your own or to go orders or those kinds of things, has that mitigated or has that helped you all? Do you find that that is really helpful in terms of making up the difference of what you had pre-coronavirus?
There's no making up the difference, we'll be honest.
Yeah.
There's not. We've actually had a lot of success with reaching out to people to donate to the healthcare workers, law enforcement, helping some of the underemployed bartenders and service industry
Right.
people. And so we've gotten a lot of people to help out the community in another way. And that's where we've been kind of keeping up our sales, our larger catering orders that we've been able to make. And we've had some of our wonderful regulars still coming in and trying to support us as often as they can and feel comfortable with getting out. But as the longer this goes on, and some of these people have been going without a paycheck, the sales are dropping off.
Sure. Have you been able to access any of the programs coming out of Congress? And if so, have they been easy to apply for, onerous? What's been your experience in dealing, with the government, good, bad, and ugly?
I will 100% give props to my business partner, Adam. He has been the one that has taken on that painstaking task of applying for those grants and loans. So anything that we have been available to apply for, we've applied for it.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have not received any loans. Our business was in a very different position than most. We actually opened up without having any business loans. So unfortunately, a lot of the banks prioritize people with loans already, which hurt us a lot in that. We did receive the county grant, and we received one other grant from the EIDL. And that's all that we've received. Everything else, we keep getting the emails rolling back. I'm sorry, we ran out of money before we got to your application, and we were applying immediately. So, and some of the times, the other day, something rolled out and Adam was on there for 4 hours trying to submit and it wouldn't go through. It took forever. It's been a really aggravating experience trying to apply. And when they knew that they were going to get hit heavy, this website still could not keep up with the demand.
Sure. Well, Congress is at this taping. Congress has just reauthorized another opportunity for small businesses. So hopefully you all will be able to slip into the queue and access those funds.
We're definitely keeping our fingers crossed for that, because it will definitely help. Because as you know, not having college students in town is definitely hurting some of our small businesses as well.
No.
And we don't know when any of these things that draw a lot of traffic to Tallahassee are actually going to be able to come back.
Right.
And events and whatnot to come visit here. So it's going to be interesting few months for sure.
Yeah. Just in the last couple of days, Governor DeSantis has put together a task force called Reopen Florida. And full disclosure, JMI has one of its board members on the task force. But as you think about reopening the state, and as we move forward here into these summer months, even into the fall, when football season starts, Tallahassee, obviously, for other folks who may not fully understand, is a huge college football town. The University of Florida State, it's got 3 universities, the largest of which is Florida State University, which has, north of 45,000 students. What are your thoughts on the reopening and the regulations and the kind of variables that come with that? What, as you think through where we go in the next 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks?
This has been on my mind for weeks now. I actually, talked to my business partners a few weeks ago, and I said, because I'm one of the partners that books all the events and I handle most of the marketing. And I told them, I said, I don't know when we are going to be able to safely have events, and we need to look at what our business plan and our business model is going to be, since that was a huge part of it. I've looked at what California could be potentially requiring. I've looked at what Georgia finally put out last night about what the requirements will be. And we're trying to figure out what the best possible way to go about some of these things. Because if we are required to have a 50% capacity and then required to have increased costs such as every employee wearing gloves all the time. To truly do that, you're going to be going through boxes of gloves per employee per shift. So, and right now there's a shortage on that. And then, hand sanitizer and everything else where there's still shortages, that means supply and demand, the costs are going to be higher.
Yeah, for sure.
During this time, chicken prices have also gone up because of the hoarding that was happening. Chicken became, a demand item as well. And in the history of, I've worked in restaurants for over 17 years, chicken prices have never lowered once they have been raised. So that's a cost that we are going to continue to see at the level it is currently because of the shortage. So we have to take all of these things into consideration, and we're going to do the best we can with it. We've already moved away chairs and tables as is. We've discussed a new layout, and it's really just hard to project what we're going to be required without having some guidance first. So we have a couple different plans in place depending on what we are asked of or what is asked of us. But it's truly hard to know, and I feel like we're going to be asked a lot and be given little notice to be able to execute something. So that's where a lot of frustration from a lot of business owners right now have.
Do you have any advice, given that, the fear of what may or may not come down from, the task force or the government, both state and national? Do you have any advice for the decision makers as they try to sort through what to do here in Florida?
I mean, we can only ask them to consider the small businesses as much as possible. We want the best for our staff, us, and our guests that are coming in. We want everyone to feel comfortable. But being able to have a good timeline to be able to make these plans and these decisions and know when it's happening. The unknown is really the hardest part of, because I can't draft a plan and try to even begin to execute it without knowing that's going to be, what the expectations are.
Right. So a year from now, what is your hope? What does success look like for you and the Railroad Crafthouse a year from now?
I truly hope that we still have our doors open. Right now, it's survival. Everyone says your first year is make it or break it, and we are in our first year and we get hit with a pandemic. That's not great odds,
Yeah.
In our favor. And there's so many businesses that are already having to close because the funding ran out because it went to large corporations versus going to the small businesses the funding was meant for.
Right.
And there's going to be more and more of those businesses that aren't going to survive. They already say 1 in 5 restaurants won't survive this. And we're just hoping to be, one of the 4 that do.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we close, Justine, what message for those of us who have a heart for small businesses as we deal with this pandemic and all the unknowns that come with it, what can folks do for you, for other small businesses, not necessarily, that may not be in Tallahassee, because we'll have a lot of viewers from all over the country. Do you have any final ideas or thoughts that those of us who care about the future of small businesses can do?
I mean, support in any way that you can. There's things like sharing a post on Facebook from that business can help drive sales. So it's a free way to help a business out. But also, think small and local when you can, but obviously the chains do employ locals too. So, go out as much as you can and safely do so. Or find other ways to support. You can buy gift cards to use later if you don't want to go out. We have online gift cards at a discounted rate right now to help us out. And really, if you are someone who goes out and gets sponsorships for your kids' baseball team or nonprofit, it's the time to turn around and help the people that you've called on before to help you. So just reaching out and just really being a community about this, because we're all in it together. We can't survive without each other.
You're absolutely right. Well, Justine May, Railroad Crafthouse here in Tallahassee, small business owner. Thank you very much for being on this call with us, and hang in there and good luck.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.